My favorite part in the Bible are all the places where God says He loves me.
Hello, I'm Esther, your amanuensis from Wasteland Glow. Let's see what you're here for today. You're curious about a very heady subject in modern culture. Actually, to be perfectly fair, any subject about God or His statutes or even Satan, they keep circling around and around. Who's on top? Well, God's always on top, right? Let us first compare God and Satan, the accuser, the devil, Lucifer, and all his minions. There's Yahweh and his angels, and Satan and his fallen angels. God is a great storyteller. Satan is a great liar. So when we discuss God, we have all these wonderful stories. And when we discuss Satan, it is like picking unwanted pieces of leftover food between our teeth. Ew. So, without further ado, today's subject is Satan's hoax. Hoax. And an algorithm that I made up for homosexuality. So in order to discuss this subject, we must discuss the difference between God and Satan. God is referred to in the Bible as a lion. Satan is referred to in the Bible as a lion. God is referred to in the Bible as a lamb, a sheep. Satan in the Bible is referred to as a wolf in sheep's wool. He looks like he could be, but he isn't. God is a lion because he protects us. God is a sheep because he laid down his life for us. Satan is a lion because he looks like God, but he seeks to destroy. And Satan is a sheep. No, he's not. That's the point. He can make himself look like an angel of light because he was up there. So now that you understand that they can look very similar, but they're very different, I want you to understand that if you choose to follow God, you choose to follow someone who is benevolent, loving, merciful, forgiving, and expects those who follow him to be the same. We're expected to be humble because God is humble. God of all things, the creator of all things, is humble. Can't get more humble than to become one of us, lowly dust-made humans who have to eat to survive and then relieve ourselves in the washroom. And then he died for us and took on our sin. That's pretty humble. Satan expects his children to be the same. Deceitful, lying, pretentious, malevolent, and devouring. And he's expecting them to be just like him. And God discusses in the Bible how he is not only so upset with the people who choose to follow Satan, but even more upset at Satan for doing exactly to them what they do for him. He's more mad at Satan because Satan hurts the very people who choose to follow him. You choose to follow Satan and you murder people, he's going to hurt you back. That's why he says that you're his child. It's very harsh, but it's real. Let me give you another verse. If we are to differentiate between what looks like it could be good and what looks like it could be bad, we don't really know. We need this verse about the heart to tell us. And we need this verse to know that only God can know what's in the heart. We think we know that if someone's out there stealing TVs and someone else out there is stealing bread, that the one stealing TV is the bad guy and the one stealing bread is the good guy. But what if the man stealing bread only is pretending that he's hungry, but he's actually stealing bread to hurt the owner of that small business because he has it out for him? And what if the man stealing TVs is only stealing TVs because he knows somebody who will pay him top dollar for it, so then he can get that money from him and then turn around and feed his family. The difference is, honestly, there isn't any difference. I'm not on the exterior, because God says we shall not steal. However, he makes it very obvious in Bible verses that it does matter what's in your heart. So what is in your heart that God says, well, now that this is in your heart, it's no longer a sin? Well, it's always a sin. We all fall short of the glory of God. The holiness, the righteousness, we sin, we fall. So how do we differentiate? It's in our heart. Do we feel sorry for having committed the sin? The stealing. The one who was stealing TVs or the one who was stealing bread? Which one regrets having done it, but felt like they were in a position where they had to? Additionally, maybe they're living in a society where people who are called to help them aren't helping them. That doesn't help matters. Then multiple people are kind of responsible for him stealing. But that's another story. So, good or bad are in the eyes of God because he can see the heart. So, behavior is not always going to tell us. Fruit is something Christians talk about. By their fruit you shall know them. But people can pretend to be good for a while, and people can act like they're bad for a while. So, how do we navigate between the deceitful ones and the good ones? By their fruit. They can trick us, either on purpose to make us think they're good people, but they're not, or on accident because they're having a bad day maybe. Let us consider well-known social tactics as ways to discern. Did you know that God and Satan can talk to you? Did you know that you have thoughts as your spirit? You have thoughts as your flesh. You have thoughts that come from God, and you have thoughts that come from Satan. I need you to understand that that's very real. What do I mean by your spirit and your flesh? Sometimes your spirit wants to do a good thing, like the man who stole that didn't want to steal, but he wanted to take care of his family. So part of him thought, no, I will not steal. That was his spirit. The other part of him thought, I have to steal. That was his flesh. We are called to listen to our spirit and not our flesh. But our spirit can only be so good as it is attached to the will of God. But that's a whole other thing. If you understand that you at the very least have your thoughts, God's thoughts, and Satan's thoughts, then you are ahead of most people. The reason that's important to note is most people are not born knowing that. Nobody's born knowing that. Nobody's born even understanding that what thoughts are. They just have them. So, the social tactics I'm discussing, you need to have in your mind presently when we go over these social tactics to understand that this is how you can be guided into the good or the not so good, i.e. evil. Number one, grooming. We all understand, if we're paying attention, grooming from a young age means that someone is going to be under a very strong impression and live their life according to such a degree that whatever they were raised to is going to be their way of life. And thus, when they get older, if they decide, I feel like I don't want to live that way, it's going to be very hard for them to change. Not to mention, how did they get to the point where they decided to change? A lot of people don't. Grooming is very, very powerful. Now, these days, grooming is used as an offensive word, but it isn't. It's just a word. Grooming means sometimes you take your dog to get his nails clipped and his butt cleaned, and other times you're talking about helping a person. Now, if you are a young 30-something-year-old and you're trying to start your own business and you realize 2 houses down, you have a very wealthy neighbor and they want to help you with your business, they're going to help you learn tricks to do, tricks to avoid, all of this stuff. They're going to teach you these things. This is called grooming. Again, grooming is what? In a dog, it's clipping the nails, making sure they don't hurt others and themselves. Clipping the fur, cleaning it, making sure that they're presentable. That sounds like something you would teach a person. You need to make yourself presentable. You need to go and do these things that are going to be good for the community. Grooming. But also grooming can be very bad. And we've seen that in social media and news broadcasts and the like. We know it can be used for ill. An interesting thing about grooming is many of the gay friends that I've had growing up, all throughout my life, they've told me stories about how when they were young, someone older helped them into that lifestyle when they were alone. Now, I don't know about you, but I really like the study of psychology. I also enjoy the study of strategy. And growing up, I enjoyed stories that weren't just stories, but they had moral endings. And when you listen to a story from a person and you're considering constantly the psychology behind why people do what they do and the strategies of how people can manipulate, if you're to be fair, when you hear that sort of thing, you might say, that sounds like it's manipulative. Now, you can decide to not believe in God and Satan and think, that's that person being manipulative. They're grooming that person. Sure. But I choose to believe in God and Satan, which means I see the manipulator as Satan. Now, I do believe people are responsible for what they do, but you see, people have a tendency to reproduce what they've experienced. So, if someone from a young age is preyed upon sexually in, say, a subject like pedophilia, then what we see is usually when that person grows up, they either become a staunch advocate against it, or they become a predator themselves. Same thing with alcohol. If you had alcohol abuse in your family, you either become an alcohol abuser or you become staunchly against it. You rarely find somebody who can just casually drink that came from a really abusive alcoholic family. They do one or the other. Avoid 100% or go for it 100%. So goes any sort of early sexual grooming. Another reason a person can be groomed, i.e. from the devil, is if he sends somebody that is the proper gender for you. Say you're a woman and every single man you get involved with is mean. And then he whispers to you and says, that girl over there is nice. There are nice men. You just haven't met a nice man. But now he's whispering to you and you don't know he's whispering to you because you haven't used your discernment on whose voice is whose, which honestly is very difficult, especially when you first try to figure it out, because it all sounds like you. It will never not sound like you. But the difference is because of recognizing patterns of behavior, i.e. psychology and strategy, one learns to recognize personalities. You know you, but how much of it is you? Well, you learn Satan and you learn God, everything else in between. But God will give you dreams and Satan will give you thoughts. So it's difficult. And especially when you're young and you're not thinking about these things, it's very easy, which is why Satan grooms you. Because it's easier to get you when you don't know what's going on. Now let's discuss another method of social engineering tactics. Gaslighting. We know, as a fact, for now, until people change it, that women tend to fall for men who are exactly like their dads. So if the dad taught her, you only deserve men that will act well, that will respect you, that will take care of you, well, she's going to look for a man that's like that. But if he beat her, will she not be looking for that man? Not like she wants to, but it's what we think we deserve. Just like in grooming, we are taught from that young age, this is what you deserve. From grooming, this is what you need to look for. This is how you need to act. This is what you need to behave. Gaslighting. You deserve this. This is what you get. God will say, I am your holy father. I love you. I'm benevolent. I'm merciful. I will help you. And Satan goes, you're pathetic. You're disgusting. I own you. You deserve nothing. And better yet, he teaches you to be harmful to others. Gaslighting is telling you, you don't see what's in front of you. How can you? How can you see a man being nice to you when you are a woman who's been raised by Satan to say, that's a bad man, that's a bad man, that's a bad man? And even better yet, nowadays he has social media. He does the same thing to men. Why not? Everyone believes in algorithms. Everyone believes things are pushed at them. And yet, at the same time, those same people can't imagine the opposite gender having any good qualities, because suddenly there is no algorithm and the opposite gender is just evil. Like it's not being pushed on them. Like the skin tone war and the gender war just don't exist. Like they're just miserable. You have to see past what's going on physically. That's how you see what's real. So if a woman can fall for a man who is similar in behavior to her dad, why not a person for body parts? Right? If you are born attracted to certain body parts, yet a woman is not born attracted to people like her father, that doesn't make sense. Saying that you are only going to be attracted to who you were born to be attracted to negates people who are attracted to towers, to fences, to microwave ovens. There are people who are interested in all kinds of things, and if you don't acknowledge that someone's putting those weird thoughts into your head, you're going to fall prey to them. This is not real. This is gaslighting. You might as well say that a man really is born to drive well, and a woman really is born to drive poorly, because they're sexual parts, right? Except, correct me if I'm wrong, but if driving was really up to body parts, I'd imagine a man would have to pull his pants down, thrust his hips up, and use his very stiff board against a rubber band pulley thingy to try to navigate. That wouldn't work. And women, how would we toggle driving? I don't even want to think about it. And men, if things snapped, because sometimes things go wrong, so we don't use our body parts. We use our brains. And while our brains are a little different per gender, they're actually a little different inside of each gender. And as a semi-truck driver who's watched men in little cars not drive well, doing a job well is more of a preference. If you feel like doing your job right, you'll do your job right. And if you don't, you won't. That's a personality thing. It's a choice. It's a mindset. So is sexual preference. You just don't realize it because you were lied to at a very young age. You were gaslit and you were groomed. Finally, let's discuss aphantasia. You've probably seen the images of an apple in different brains and how it's more faded and less vibrant and less shaped and less solid, and depending on the person's mind. Apparently, not everyone thinks about what they're going to say ahead of time. Apparently, not everyone thinks in words. Apparently, not everyone thinks in images. There are those of us who think in both. But it's a huge number that don't think of any of it. If you're the kind of person that does not think about words, that does not think about images, how easy is it for someone else to go into your mind and convince you these are your thoughts? You can easily be groomed. You can easily be gaslit. You can easily be lied to because you're not even aware that God is real. You're not even aware that Satan is real, that they can talk to you. You can't even think your own thoughts. That's wild to me. Here's another form of manipulation that doesn't have anything to do with homosexuality preferences. I'm a loser. I was told I was a loser since I was young. I'm now in my job. I expect my job to tell me I'm a loser, so I'm going to act like a loser. I'm poor. I came from a poor family. I was told I'm always going to be poor. I'm a grown family member taking care of my family now, and I'm still poor. That's the devil loves, 100%. God doesn't say those things. God is true love. He's not the fake love that says we're going to use the word love to mete out the personal justices of our sexual desires. Also, God says over and over again that he is pleased with when people do right. He was even pleased with his son when he came to help human beings, when he died to help human beings. He was pleased with him. And yet, every time he talks about the word pride, it cometh before a fall. Is it any wonder that people who put on pride and walk around like they're full of themselves and they decorate themselves in all these colors, all these beautiful gemstone colors, which is exactly how Satan is described, beautiful and filled with gemstone color, that he saw himself and went, "Ugh, I'm amazing," which is the exact attitude of pride parades. "Ugh, I'm amazing. Come look at me. Bask in my narcissism." That's exactly Satan. You just don't know your Bible. And the glitter is just to make you remember those colors are supposed to come from the gemstone. Anyway, every single time we follow God, we are told we are his children. Every time we follow Satan, we are told we are his children. So why not wear the team colors? I'm just saying. Now, many people say they follow God, but they keep saying, "Oh, I'm so proud of my child. I'm so proud of this. I'm so proud of that." But God never even said he was proud of his son, Jesus. What are you doing? He's pleased with his son, Jesus, but you're proud of your kid? Are you exalting your child above God's child? What? Let's leave the pride for people who claim Satan their father. And if I'm talking to you and you don't realize that's what you're doing, that's what you're doing. So essentially, any of these tactics and more, when they are used against us, and it doesn't have to be for homosexuality, it can be literally for anything. Maybe you argue too much. Maybe you think you're very high and mighty. Maybe you're selfish. Maybe you're proud. Whatever it is, proud in a different way. Whatever it is. It's because you allowed Satan to make you think that was your thought. Come on, if I can convince you that you think this about yourself, I've won. Because how are you going to argue with yourself? You love yourself. That's ridiculous. Let me tell you about a man who had cancer. He went to a doctor and said, "I need to be on something. This is not working for me. I'm going to die." The doctor found out about a test group. He put him on it. Drug X. Cool. He took drug X. He found out people on drug X were doing well. He started doing well. It remitted, gone. Amazing. They took him off of drug X. He's living his life for about a year. He happens to like to read newspaper clippings. He read news about how it wasn't actually drug X, but drug XY that was helping people. And he knew he was on drug X. So he went to the doctor and said, "Hey, what's going on with this?" And they were like, "Yeah, it was drug XY, not your drug, unfortunately. But you beat it, so that's awesome." He went home and he had cancer again. He went back to the doctor and said, "I need to be on drug XY." And he said, "Unfortunately, I can't put you on drug XY." But he was bewildered. The doctor was bewildered as to why the man suddenly had his cancer back. Not all the way through the Bible says you must have faith. He will heal you, but you must have faith. When people were laying hands on people, you had to at least believe, even the tiniest bit, that God could heal you. If your mind is telling you that this is not possible, it will not be possible. This isn't manifesting from the stars. Do be so for real. God is real. He wants to help you, but you have to believe. Now, occasionally in the Bible, God says, my grace is sufficient for you. So when you have something you're going through, God will say, And then sometimes if you're having a hardness of heart, sometimes God puts you through something and you have to say, God, search me like you searched David and show me what's wrong with me. And then once he shows you, you need to ask him to help you to work on it and earnestly try with a contrite and humble spirit, right? But these are more detailed lessons. But I need you to understand that if you're struggling with the concept, not the concept of homosexuality, but the concept of believing you didn't have a choice. I grew up in a time where we knew you had a choice. We also knew eggs were good for you. It's a strange thing hearing from scientists, huh? If you're a scientist, you get in it because you really want to learn. Like, I love learning about God. These people love learning about nature. I love learning about nature too. But I no longer listen to the scientists as if their word is law. Because I've learned when you get something from someone else, you have to pay for it. And when they go get it themselves, they have to pay for it. So it's better for you to use your own soil with your own seeds and grow your own plant with your own water, so then you know exactly where that came from. And put it away from other people. Don't put it in your front yard, right? Because if you buy a plant from somebody else, if it's in the open area, you have no idea what other people have done to it. And if they grew it in an open area, you have no idea what people have done to it. And if you got it from somebody else, you don't know if they sprayed it with pesticide, if they put the fertilizer they use was poisonous. You don't know. It's better to do it yourself. But you can't always do everything yourself. You can't build your own car. You can't grow your own food. You can't research how hippopotamuses digest their food, but you want to know. So you have to understand whatever you hear, you don't know is 100% true, especially when you take into account money. People who write books for a living, they get paid to do that. People who teach for a living, they get paid to do that. People who farm for a living, they get paid to do that. Pattern? People who are scientists get paid to do that. Who's paying them? An altruistic, wonderful person? Science is one of the most expensive occupations to ever need money. It is a suction of desperate need for money. So, you must understand that while the scientist wants to know the truth, whoever's paying him has an agenda. Sometimes that agenda is just tell the world. Sometimes the agenda is don't tell anybody. I'll figure out what to do with this. And sometimes it's you say what I say and you give me the information. That information is then used against people and people never get the real information. This happens a lot, especially in corrupt worlds. I don't care what political party side you're on. I don't care what religion you believe in. We can all agree modern day, our society is sucking. So if that's the case, what are we talking about here? We acknowledge it matters who's giving whom money. How many times do we see scientists say, oh yeah, this is what I learned. And then later on, after they're no longer being paid by those people, they say, yeah, that wasn't true. Darwin did that. Did you know that? Darwin said, oh, just so you know, none of that was true. He was paid to say so. Go see who funded him and what they were supporting. They were anti-God. Literally. But he got to go to cool islands. Look up the guy who posted the theory about alpha wolves. All these men going around going, I'm an alpha. I'm an alpha. That wasn't even real. He was researching animals inside of a small area. It wasn't even real. And he admitted it later. But both times when those scientists admitted they were not telling the truth, that information didn't get out. Number one, how often do we say blah, 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 and everyone notices it, and then later when we go, I need to correct that, suddenly no one notices it. But also, the same people who were paying them then probably paid to hush it up. How many times have we seen a celebrity or a popular chain store get some bad publicity, and we've learned that if they apologize, the world will eat them alive. So they no longer apologize. They just pepper you constantly over and over and over again with good publicity. You hear a pizza store might have done something not so great. Commercials, all from different angles. Oh my goodness, this pizza is my aesthetic. You guys, mukbang, just over and over again. It's like, I know what you're doing, but does the average person know? There was one little video someone might have heard about them not being so great. Now everyone else is going to that restaurant for pizza because it's right there. Was the story about that pizza even true? We have no idea. It could have been their competitors lying. But the point is, that was the way they chose to handle it. That's what Satan does. He makes you think it's your idea, and if you start to go, I don't know, he goes, distract, pretty colors. And then suddenly you're back on target, following the devil, not even realizing you had a moment where you could have freed yourself. The celebrities do that too, by the way. That was my point. You hear one bad thing about a celebrity and suddenly they're just being so cute. All this good publicity's out there. They're doing all these wonderful things. Again, who cares? I'm just saying that's another social tactic. That's another psychological strategy. And it works because most people do not pay attention. They don't know about the additional voices. If you're watching social media, you're being programmed. That's why they call it the feed. You're feeding yourself. That's why they call it television. They want you to see what they see. That's why the people in power have so many different words than you do. You call yourself poor. They call you impoverished. You call them rich. They call themselves successful or intelligent. You need to understand it's all manipulation. And once you're inside of a prison that you put yourself in without realizing you did, because Uncle Satan took your cute little baby hand and went, wouldn't you like to go in here? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. I put so many things in there that will remind you of why you deserve those things I put you through. And now that's your home. I know grown adults today who, because of mental problems, they stay inside of prisons. They do not ever leave. Homosexuality is one of those things. You can fight being attracted to the wrong gender. I know that's true. Because very quickly in my life, I realized I could choose. Women were very beautiful. I could have become gay. But I had these conversations because I never got bored of saying why. When? How? Where? What's the moral of the story? Who's behind this? What's the strategy? And as I got older, I would go into instances like perhaps getting hired by a new company, and they'd have this front gate that you would go in as a employee. This gate, it wasn't a real gate, you understand. It was all the promises and all the shebang and the wow. And once you were in, you realized, oh, this is a crap company. A lot of people are like that too. They go, come on, come be my friend. And then you get in there and you're like, oh. And when you get older, you start to realize, I know what this is. This is distraction. This is sparkle. This is vanity. This is pride. I'm not falling for it. You're never going to leave a prison you don't realize is a prison. You're never going to leave a prison you don't realize you voluntarily walked into. And you're never going to leave a prison. You're never, ever going to leave a prison you don't realize you can walk out of. As long as that door is open, as long as you're alive, that door is open. The best prisons are the ones made by ourselves, with a lot of help from Satan. You were groomed, you were lied to, and modern scientists say You can't help it if you're born homosexual. You also can't help it if you were born with a natural desire to kill people. And now they're trying to say you can't help it if you like little children. These are all spoken of against in the Bible. God said Satan likes these things. They are his worship. And I should inform you that I am of the belief when God said every sin is the same in his eyes, he meant every sin. And he also said that he's no respecter of persons. So he doesn't care if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're a woman, if you're a man, the color of your skin, the age of your body. It also means he does not care if you think your sin is less than someone else's, or if it's even not a sin. If God said it, let it be. It is. So I need you to understand two things. I, number one, believe that homosexuality is on the same level as stealing. Why? When I was younger, I honestly didn't understand why. I knew what God said. Stealing seemed obvious, but homosexual, because they're just trying to love. I knew God said one was wrong, so I got it. And for me, I chose to appreciate men. But I also understood that God said when we go up to heaven and we get our new bodies, we will not have genders. So the idea that men were superior than women in every way was amusing to me, because God clearly gave each of us gifts, right? So I understand that. But I say that to say this. There are certain Christians that read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah and how God obliterated those cities so hardcore. And the way people read it is almost as if they believe that God does respect persons differently, that God does hold sins at different levels, for he burned people up like that so quickly because they were gay. No, that wasn't it. You see, it wasn't that there was a city with gay people. There's always going to be cities with gay people and thieves and murderers and liars and just people in general who do what God says not to do or don't do what God says to do, right? And God does say that our understandings are not his understandings. And I have the reason why, by the way. When I was a kid, I wondered. Now I know why. And I can share that with you. But essentially, the reason Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed was because when God and his two angels went to visit Lot, what they said when he ran out to them was, yeah, we're going to hang out by the town square where the fountain is overnight, which they did a lot back then. In fact, they do that in other cultures now. But Lot said, oh, not in this city. You guys need to come in with me. Why? Because of a couple of gay people? Do you have gay friends that go around doing that? They are so scary that you can't let your straight friends around them, or even another gay friend who just doesn't want to be with that person? No, of course not. So what was the underlying story here? Lot told them to come with them. He argued with them. He said, no, I'll feed you. I'll take care of you. I'll give you room and board. Just come on. So they go in. Later on, bang, 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 bang on the doors. Bang, 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 bang on the walls. Bang, 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 bang on the windows. All over. The foundation was a shaking. Your gay friends do that? Go up to people's houses and bang, and together with all their gay friends, roar so loudly with their voices that it is almost deafening. Give me those men. We will have them tonight among all of us. All the men of the village were going, every single one of them? Are your friends like that? That's like going into a city of thieves and everyone's a thief and they steal from each other. We've heard of whole countries that are like that. Modern day today, pirates, their whole country, and then go into other countries and cause problems. The problem, the thing here is, it was so bad. But if you look at the history of this earth outside of the Bible, you see that anytime that women are given authority over men, that's not equal to, that's not saying women are not allowed to be beaten anymore. Women are not allowed to be forced in bed anymore. Women should be allowed to vote. It's not saying that. It's saying women are good, men suck. Women should be able to prey on whoever they want. Men should not. Men shouldn't even ask for anything. We're in a society like that right now. And then eventually it gets to homosexuality is okay. But eventually, just like women's rights are okay, that gets out of hand too. Basically, God had things a certain way and we want to change them. So, when you have a society where gay people, not all of them, but huge hordes of them, hordes being groups of people that are looking for destructive purposes, not sweet people who are just going together in crowds, okay? So I'm using the word horde here to represent ill intent of a large group of people. If you have hordes of gay people that individually are so sweet, but when they get together, they hate on other people, or they promote indecency, like women promoting hate on men, or men promoting hate on women, to the point of harming them and manipulating their children. Imagine a bunch of men getting on the internet and saying, we're going to teach all your children to hate women, that women should be beat up and mistreated, that they shouldn't have rights, and that they should be taken whenever you want them. The world would have a fit. But when homosexual people come on and say, we're going to teach your children that your values suck and our values are great, well, Satan already said that. And you see, our society has people parading around going, oh, look at me, look at my narcissistic colors, how fantastic I am. Just like the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's not that there haven't been cities all throughout the earth, all throughout time, that didn't have all these sins, including homosexual people. It's, God says that when he starts to punish a people, he starts letting them give in to their pervasiveness. That's when women start really mistreating men. Men stop acting like men, and there's a bunch of homosexuality, so much so that it's out there in the open, and they're challenging people's safety and their way of life. Now, this doesn't sound like you. This doesn't sound like your friend. It's the mob mentality. We understand the mob mentality. It's what it is. It's another strategic psychological manipulation. Welcome to the craziness of how if you don't have control of your brain, somebody else will, right? So I just wanted you to know that's the position I'm coming from. I'm not one of those that go, oh, homosexuality is the worst. No, God never said that. He said the opposite. And I don't look at Sodom and Gomorrah as it's because people were gay. It's because their society had become so awful that the final stage of such an evil society is people who at first just say they just want to be able to love who they want to be able to love, now go demand to have sex with whoever we want. Even if your friend is gay, again, do you think it's fair that he has to be? Anyway, so I want you to know that's my perspective of it. And as a child, I didn't know how to tell people this is what God said because I didn't understand it. Do you want to understand it? Here goes. God made Adam in his image. Then he thought, he's alone. God made woman out of his body. Adam realized, this woman's just like me. He realized she looked different, but she's just like him. He didn't see her as less. She isn't less. She's different. So, what went wrong? Well, they messed up. Sin entered the world, i.e. Satan. Wow, he keeps doing that. He has a great track record of messing people up and people not realizing. Adam and Eve weren't intentionally disobeying. He gaslit Eve. I'm just saying. And then Adam was like, oh, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. He passed the blame on somebody else. Eve said it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. She passed the blame on somebody else. It's almost like they couldn't take accountability for what they said, what they did. And if you're not taking accountability, what is it? You're blaming somebody else. What is it? Someone else has control over you and you're in a prison. Right? Because if you have accountability, then that means you have control. If you have accountability, that means you can't not help it. You're not born a certain way. You had a decision to make whether you were conscious of it or not, and you chose to make it. If you can't choose to make it, you can't ever leave the prison you walked into, not even realizing you did it, because God will not allow Satan to make you. But he can lie, and he can lie, and he can lie. So if you want a dangerous, evil overlord, okay, but it is your choice. So I just want you to know that. So essentially, what caused me to realize why homosexuality is wrong? Remember when I said that when you go to heaven, no gender, right? It doesn't even matter. You can love someone, you don't have to have sex with them. You don't have to conjugate with them. Because guess what? When you go up to heaven, you're not going to be doing that anyway, and that's for immortals. So you're literally giving in for a couple of years of that. And on top of that, if you're doing it with a bunch of people, you're just going to be miserable. Even if you stay with your own gender or you go with someone else's gender. Whatever. But God said when they messed up, man would be here and woman would be here. He gave man and woman different parts of himself, meaning Adam or man was the authoritative part of God, the leadership, the head of God, the power and the protection of God. Woman was the giver of God, the insight of God, the generous nature and nurture of God. She could plan. She could organize. Now, there are some women that are more like men and some men that are more like women. And honestly, I think sometimes God does that because he knows he's putting a person in a position where there won't be someone who's doing what they need to be doing, so that person has to step up. But I need you to understand that the reason a man and a woman have their role is together. They dance like the wholeness of God. And a lot of people say, women have such a hard time. Yes, if the man is mistreating her and misinterpreting the Bible, yes, that puts her in a slave role. But men have the harder time in general. Because as a man leads his house, when he goes before God, God will not be looking at the woman saying, why'd you do this and so? Because all she has to do is go. You gave him the authority and he told me. So God's not even going to do that. He's going to look at the man and say, what did you do? I said my yoke was easy. My burden was light. I gave you only a few rules of what to do, only a few rules of what not to do. And you added all these rules for your own selfish reasons. And you made this family do these things that were ridiculous. And they tried their best. That's what's going to happen. Or God says, I gave you all these commandments that those who are in power and those who have money must look after those who don't. That's what he's going to say to the man who is cruel, who doesn't look after other people like he looks after himself. That's why people need to pay attention when Adam said, this woman is my body. This woman is my bone of my bone, my flesh of my flesh. When he looks at her, he needs to see, that's me. Men are naturally, inherently a little selfish, not in a bad way, but selfish in its root means of self, meaning he needs to figure out, how do I eat? How do I clothe myself? But now he's married. So now how do I clothe us? How do I feed us? A good man notices when the girl got her hair cut because a good man appreciates that she did it for him. That's a good relationship. But now you understand. That's why homosexuality is wrong. Not because you love someone. There are many men in the Bible that loved each other. Not that way. There are many women in the Bible that loved each other. Not that way. The simple end of it is, if God told you not to do something, it's probably for your health. You know, like he tells you to have good hygiene. Did you know that if you don't have good hygiene, you get sick and could die? Golly, it's almost like God wants to help you. Did you know if you have sex with too many partners, you can get sick and die? It's almost like God telling you not to have multiple partners. It's to help you. Did you know that God told his people not to wear wool with linen? And modern day, we find out that the vibrational frequency of linen is similar to a cat's purr, and it heals your body. And wool has its own vibrational frequency and will heal your body. But if you wear them together, they cancel each other out. They don't hurt you, but they cancel each other out. Whoa. Guys, it's simple. God gave us rules because Adam and Eve ate of the tree of knowledge. They were innocent like children. And they did it because Satan messed them up in the first place. Satan wanted to be God. I don't know what that means. Did he want to be sitting on the chair? Did he want to be able to create his own children? What did that mean? God said to be like him, and he is kind to us. But he said that Satan wants you to be like him, but he is not kind back. What the heck? I just needed you to know. I needed you to know why God said what he said. You don't have to like it. God told us we can eat meat, told us the strong eat the meat and the weak do not. I don't eat meat. God said I didn't have to. God said men should be with women. You don't have to. Just don't disobey. He said you didn't have to get with anyone. But you know the crazy thing about eating cake? If you've never had cake before, you don't know what you're missing. It's harder to resist cake once you've already given in. And again, how many times do we find ourselves realizing we shouldn't be doing something and wondering how to get out of it because we were led to, as a child, to do these things? It's almost like it's intentional. Everyone thinks they're so smart, but they're not looking at what's really going on. Don't believe in God if you don't want to. But if you say you do, or if you would like to know of a better way, I'm telling you, you've been manipulated. So you need to ask yourself, whether it be about homosexuality or anything, is there something about you that you're being told you can't control, that is outside of your control? Because I guarantee you that's the one thing Satan's working you over on. And if you question that, you might just be able to see the front door. Because it's not beyond your control. If your mind is so powerful that you can heal cancer by believing it's going away, and you believe that, but you think everything else you can't control, you may not be homosexual, but you may believe that you deserve every partner you have to harm you. And your homosexual friend will look at you and say, well, that's not true. Y'all need to look at each other and tell each other, none of this is true. You could find it in your Bible, but you'd rather scroll on your social media feed. Oh wait, that's another prison, another layer of prison. That is another distraction to keep you away from the truth. So I guess, at least if you're homosexual, it's a glittery kind of prison. It's a colorful kind of prison. I like color though. I really like glitter. I don't know if you've noticed. Wasteland Glow over here is beautiful like the rainbow. So welcome to prison. Population U. Now I know a lot of people are going to be a teensy bit aggressive with this particular video. So I'd just like to add that I'm not afraid of some false lion's roar. Anyway, I love you, and you know Jesus loves you way more than anyone else could.